Welcome to OnBoard with Amplify, the podcast that brings you behind the scenes of the thoroughbred racing world. Whether you're brand new or a lifelong fan, we're here to onboard you into the industry, introducing the people, places, and processes that keep it running. And with every episode, you're welcome on board for the journey with us, traveling to experience the sport from the inside out. Today, we're visiting Mill Ridge Farm to meet several members of their team and learn what farm life looks like during the busy breeding season. Mill Ridge is known as a nursery farm, primarily focused on breeding mares, raising foals, and preparing yearlings for the sales ring. It's also home to 3 stallions, Aloha West, Casa Creed, and Oscar Performance. We started the afternoon in the Foaling Barn with farm manager Jeremy Harlow.
We're at Mill Ridge Farm. We're at Barn 5. This is our foaling barn. This is where, starting in January, our mares that are due January, February, we'll fill up this whole barn. And this is kind of where the action all starts. This is where will be our first foals. The foals will be born here, every single one of them on Mill Ridge Farm. Once they're born, they will have an exam done by a vet, check the ribs and all that good stuff. We'll check blood, make sure it's all healthy, make sure the IgG is all good.
Explain what that is.
So the IgG has to do with the mare's colostrum. So obviously you want a foal to nurse very well and get as much colostrum as you can. And if an IgG isn't over 800 when we do the bloods, we'll then think about doing we do plasma anyway and run the full plasma, but if it's not over 800, we'll run plasma, or we rather do it now and give it a good start. Check IgG, white blood count, all that good stuff. If that gets the okay, we'll then put it outside into a paddock with its mom by itself, and then we'll just leave it alone for about 6 or 7 days. We found our best way to do the foaling barn is that we don't touch them. And that keeps any sickness off, it prevents any diarrhea, prevents any just bad things that happen that you hear stories about. We do that, and then once the mare's kind of cleared that protocol, then we'll take her to Barn 7, which is our nursery barn, and she'll kind of still bond with the foal, spend about 10 more days in the paddock. We'll get a group of 10 or so mares and foals together out in the field once everybody's knees and everybody's strong enough, and then they'll go to their forever kind of home where the foals will be raised, mares will be bred back, and then they will be weaned. And so this is kind of just where it all starts. And once those mares and foals leave that have already came and done their deal here, then we'll ship in a whole nother group that maybe you'll be due in March, April, May, and so on and so forth. So usually about 100 mares will come through this barn on any given year, foal out here. And then also once they foal out and they leave, we'll spray the stalls out, disinfect, get them really clean, and then bed down fresh bedding for the new mares, and then it's just a kind of a cycle until everything's done.
What does the staffing flow look like?
Yeah, usually with our numbers, we try to maintain around 11 to 12 grooms on each side. So 11 or 12 broodmare guys, 11 to 12 yearling guys, and then our yearling guys also double up as our stallion shed people. But we're lucky with that. We have 3 stallions and they're plenty busy, but it's nice that the yearling guys will start a little earlier in the mornings, about 6 a.m. We get all the yearlings up at 6 a.m. They're up by 7, and then that gives us time to breed at 8 a.m. And so it's nice to be able to do all that, and the guys get very experienced. And a lot of the younger guys, if they go to other farms, they might not get to see stallions, yearlings, and broodmares, but a lot of our guys, they get exposed to a lot of different things because we have good staff. They've been here for a while and done well. And so it's kind of nice. So that's kind of the numbers we maintain. And a lot of the guys step up. They'll short shift and do a 4 to 7 to watch the foals. The night watch can get here at 7 o'clock at night, and then night turnout, and then our stallion night sheds and stuff like that. All the guys are very good at it. And I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I grew up. And my mother, her house and where I grew up was right next to Churchill Downs. I went to St. Francis de Sales High School in Louisville, and it's in the South End, just where Churchill Downs is. And so just always saw the track. My mom took me and liked racehorses. And so, but did the typical thing, went to high school, all that stuff. And I didn't grow up with horses, didn't even touch a horse till I was 18 years old, and just decided as a senior in high school I wanted to do it. So I worked with saddlebreds actually in Louisville at Rock Creek.
What was your first horse introduction?
It was just I was taking care of lesson horses at Rock Creek for little boys and girls that did the lesson program, and I'd get their horses ready and stuff like that. I had no horse experience at all. I just knew I liked them.
So you showed up at this farm, you're like, I want a job here.
Yeah.
And that's how they gave you a job.
Yeah, and that was during my senior year of high school. So I played basketball in high school, and my coach was cool enough to let me, half the week I would go work with horses and half the week I would go to basketball practice. And so we kind of did that, and I just kept on working at it. And then once I graduated high school, kind of stepped away from the saddlebreds and had to decide what I wanted to do. So I went to the University of Louisville for equine business. We'll say it wasn't for me. And so at that point, I sent around 75 emails to random farms in Lexington, Kentucky. And luckily enough, only 2 farms responded, and one of them was Claiborne Farm, and Bradley Purcell at Claiborne called me and he was like, hey, why don't you come for an interview? I went and did an interview, and I started at Claiborne as a groom. I started in February, and I worked at the Foaling Barn, and it was a great experience. And then basically did all that, did the foaling season, did the yearling prep season at Claiborne, and I remember working my first September sale. We had hip 6, and they said, all right, Jeremy, you're taking this one to the ring. I didn't even know where the ring was. And so I had somebody, a little Spitestown filly, I'll never forget it. And somebody took me showed me how to get to the ring. And that was kind of my first exposure. And so I was a young kid, 19 years old, and got done with September. And I was lucky enough that Wesley Purcell, the broodmare manager, he's still the broodmare manager at Claiborne, took a liking to me, I guess, and we're still really good friends and all that. And he made me his assistant broodmare manager. So I was there for probably 6 years, and then I went to Godolphin Jonabell and was the broodmare manager there for 4 years, and then came over here to Millridge, and now I'm the farm manager, and I've been here for 4 years in October. And so that's kind of
that is so cool
how I got here.
No, I think it's really, really important. Like, we try to educate about different pathways in the industry, that there's not one straightforward pathway that's going to get you from the A to Z. You know, there are a lot of different ways of young people getting into the industry, gaining experience, and it doesn't mean that you had to get a university degree for it. It's just, getting the connections to the right people.
No, for sure.
Establishing the right relationships and experience, and going from there.
I was very lucky, and Bradley and Wes, I probably wouldn't be here without them. And so shout out to you all if you all see this. But no, still very close with them. But they gave me an opportunity, and I just made the most of it. And so if you work hard, you get pretty far in this industry, and that's just all people want. And so, like, I'm trying to hire a broodmare manager right now, and it just needs somebody that works hard and knows what they're doing, and the rest is just all kind of just extra. But the horse industry is a great opportunity, and you just got to make the most of it.
Next, we visited the yearling division to chat with Yearling Manager Wyatt Goodin, who also plays a role in stallion sales. He walked us through the daily routines and care of the yearlings during this time of year, which includes preparing for sales season. What's happening with the yearlings this time of year in the spring?
This time of year, we're here about 5:30 in the morning, get out the morning meds, set up the schedule, everything like that. Our yearlings will start coming in about 6 a.m., finish up around 7:30. We'll go to the shed, and then we'll start prep. Got a couple that have been in for a little bit longer now that are pointing for the July sale or the Saratoga sale. They'll go out, hand walk for 15 to 20 minutes, just 6 laps around the paddock, and then spend 20 to 24 minutes on the walker, depending how far they progressed on.
What does that process look like as you guys start to get into yearling sales prep season? How will their schedule change?
We've already begun it now that we got into the summer. We're keeping them in the stalls for a little bit longer, whereas our keeper horses, the ones that are being retained for racing, they'll be in by 7 a.m. and out by 11. We try and give them as much time as possible outside. But for these sales horses that are being prepped and trying to look their best for their big day, we'll keep them in. We return at 5 o'clock every night to turn out the horse that have already actively started prepping for the sales. Kind of help them tighten up their stomachs and avoid any sunburn from being outside.
So you have a couple of your own horses on the farm?
Yeah, so I normally try and keep around 2 mares, breed out of them, and then sell. So this is the yearling out of one of them, and then I purchased another in January. So we've got a full on the ground by Oscar performance out of her, and she was bred back to Tis the Law. So.
And what's the goal? To race them or sell them?
Fillies, in a perfect world, I'd love to keep them and race them and have some fun, but financially, it doesn't make a ton of sense at some points. So, majority of them will probably end up in the sales ring. Colts we sell, and try and get the best return that we can for a modest budget purchase of a weanling or mare. So.
Tell us about this guy.
So he is a Blame Colt out of Two Below. He is the second we've bred out of the mare. He's a half brother to a 2-year-old stakes placed horse in the Kentucky Juvenile. His mare is 100% winners from starters. Just had one foal that didn't make it to a start at the races, and hoping that he can continue that trend.
He's huge.
He is. Was 1,015 pounds last month, but he wears it well. He's a big horse.
Yeah.
Good bone to him, good size, so a little bit more symmetrical than some other horses that get that heavy this early. So high hopes for him in July.
So tell us about your start into the industry. How did you learn about thoroughbred racing and get to where you are now?
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, so spent a lot of time going out to Churchill Downs and really just as a fan more than anything. I started getting into trying to get out onto the farms a little bit more around high school and getting into college.
How did you make those connections? Like, how did you even get out onto farms?
I did a pre-med biology background, and my intentions were to go to med school and everything like that, but genetics really interested me, and that kind of combined with my interest in horse racing, I started getting into pedigrees and broodmares and everything like that.
Sure.
And so I randomly had no idea how it worked at the time, but found this mare online that was out at this farm, went out to visit her, and just enjoyed my time out there, just kind of understanding how things worked. And I volunteered and said, I'll come out and work for you all if I can learn a little bit about this. And they were gracious enough to take me on. And from there, I spent just about every summer in between school out on farms before finally being able to do this full time. It's been quick transition going from where I was to where I am now, but couldn't be happier with the decision. So.
Share more about your educational process along the way. So you went to school for pre-med?
Yeah, so
right?
I did
and then
pre-med.
You eventually did the Irish National Stud program.
Right. I did pre-med biology and equine science at the Ohio State University, which admittedly didn't make a lot of sense being from Kentucky and then leaving Kentucky to go to college. But like I said, it wasn't initially, I didn't think it was in the cards to come be working out here.
Yeah.
I graduated from there in May and then applied for the Irish National Stud that coming spring and was lucky enough to be accepted. So completed that course last year and then began here in Mill Ridge in July and coming up on a year out here now. So.
Explain what the Irish National Stud program is.
The Irish National Stud program is a 6-month course in County Kildare, Ireland. They take 28 people from across the world to kind of get a better understanding of how to manage a stud farm, see a bunch of different studs, speak to a lot of industry leaders to kind of understand the way they run things, and get a better understanding of making that jump from grooming horses and that sort of thing to ultimately being able to manage a large number of stock. So you get a great education as far as the racing, the breeding, preparation of horses, nutrition, and just about everything that they could cover in there. You work on the farm every single day. You'll have every other weekend off. And then after your work during the week, they'll have someone come in to lecture you at 5 o'clock once you're finished. So every single day you're listening to a different industry leader speak on a topic that they're a professional in, and you get a great understanding of the different ways to prepare a horse and that sort of thing, because there are so many different options as far as, raising a horse to become the racehorse that it can be. So.
Yeah. What differences that you had, leading you to where you are now? Is there anything that you can pinpoint as being really valuable to getting you to where you are today?
I think my most influential position was with Mike McMahon over at McMahon and Hill Bloodstock and Spruce Lane Farm. He really got a little baptism by fire, kind of seeing every side of the industry as far as yearling prep at his place, working in his office to prepare for sales, getting out to the sales with agents like that, understanding the conversations that go on there. And then his wife at the time was the resident vet at Windstar Farm. So in the mornings, I would head out there, ride around with the vet team to kind of understand what their mornings look like, do a bunch of repro work. I'd finish there, head over to their farm, prep yearlings until lunch, take about 15 minutes, and then go into his office and work on the bloodstock side of things for a couple hours before finishing up the day. So enjoyed it. You learn a ton in a small amount of time, and kind of helps you make those decisions to where what you want to do and what direction you want to go in.
You were an Amplify mentee. So talk a little bit about that experience of learning from Jerry Duffy, who's now gone on to other cool things. Do you still keep in touch with them?
Try to. He's a very busy man. Amplify was great for creating that connection because those can be invaluable in this industry. So whether you have a ton of experience with it or very little, having those connections, having those familiar faces to feel a little more comfortable reaching out to new positions or different people and everything like that, and kind of understanding that this person's here to teach you, to help you, and that sort of thing can be one of the most important things for you as you try and progress in the industry. Amplify is a great outlet to have that sort of situation be presented to you, and couldn't be more glad that I'm a graduate.
After visiting the yearlings, we headed over to see the stallions.
Early in the season, we'd have all three breeding, or at least Oscar and Casa Creed. But as it's gotten a little bit later in, things start to slow down. Some days we won't have any, or some days we'll have three again. It really depends. But so they'll be up until we finish the morning shed. They'll be turned out for the afternoon. We have another breeding shed at 1:30 for the second mares. Stallions will all come up before then, and then if we have a third shed later that afternoon, they'll be bred again at 6:30. So we try and limit it a little bit more to at a maximum 3 times a day, but can get them out of sight as much as we can. But they're working animals, they've got a job to do this time of year, so we've got them up doing their doing what they pay the big bucks to do.
So just talk our audience through that process. When a client brings a mare in, what is that like? Explain that timeline from when the mare arrives, then meeting the stallion, and just for audiences who might not know that much about breeding.
Okay, so yeah, the mare will arrive at our breeding shed. We'll have one of our guys come out to get her off the trailer, bring her into a stall, which has a window, and a teaser will be on the other side. So we'll see how receptive she is to a male and make sure she's prepared for breeding. Once we do that, we'll get her into the stocks, tie her tail, clean up her back end, and if we need to do any veterinary work to prepare her to be covered, we knock that out as well. We'll bring her into the shed, throw some boots on her to prevent any damage to the stallions, anything like that if she does lash out at him. We'll bring the stallion in, give him some time to prepare himself, and make sure that both of them are in a state where it'll be safe for both the horses and the humans to breed the mare. And we'll have the stallion mount the mare, and hopefully everything goes smoothly. But we get a foal at the end of it. But it's normally a pretty painless experience. The way people handle veterinary medicine and everything like that, these mares are ready to go. These stallions are well maintained. So normally it's a very smooth process. And, we like to think we have a very nice success rate out here when these mares are getting bred.
We also sat down with Price Bell Jr., the general manager of Millridge, to discuss a typical day for him when he's overseeing the farm, his advice for newcomers, and what he loves most about springtime at a thoroughbred nursery.
It all does start with the love of the horse. I guess my primary responsibility is a lot of customer interaction. I am not providing the day-to-day care. I have an incredible team that provides the day-to-day care, but it's my job to, one, recruit the horses that they can provide care for, and then to communicate to clients what care is being provided and what's happening. So each day is different each season. During the foaling and breeding season, it's a lot around, foals. Health is obviously the primary concerns. If there have been any incidents that we're following up on, making sure that the client has all the information and understands. And then breeding cycles, we're in the process of breeding mares back and understanding kind of where we are, how that's going. When we get towards the end of the season, we're talking more about sales, manage expectations for sales, etc. But the day starts with communicating with the team, understanding we're working on this yesterday, how is it today, any changes overnight, and then trying to assess what do we need to do the rest of the day.
Price shares that the thoroughbred industry is an incredible one, but unlike many corporate industries, it doesn't offer a clear or consistent path for newcomers to get involved. While there are college degree programs available, the industry lacks the kind of structured employee training and development systems you'd find in more formulaic professions. At Millridge, there's very little turnover, but the farm, and much of the industry, is made up of small businesses that don't have the capacity to run full-scale corporate training programs. Price emphasized the need for a better, more accessible on-ramp into the industry to help more people find their way in. We like to think that Amplify plays exactly that role as an industry on-ramp.
If we want horses to go forward in future generations, we have to give people connections to them.
Thanks for coming on board with us for this behind-the-scenes look at a thoroughbred farm during breeding season. From caring for foals to prepping yearlings for sale and hearing from the professionals who make it all happen, we hope this episode helped onboard you with a deeper understanding of what it takes to raise the next generation of racehorses. You can watch the video version of this episode on Amplify's YouTube channel or listen on your favorite podcast platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help others discover OnBoard with Amplify. For more stories, resources, and educational content, follow Amplify Horse Racing on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X, or visit amplifyhorseracing.org. We'll see you next time on Board with Amplify.